So we've all seen videos of septic tanks that haven't been pumped in 20 years and they're nasty. There's usually a layer of sludge on top that's really thick. And you may be thinking that once the septic tank is pumped that everything's good and the septic system is good to go. And that's not necessarily true. So let's talk about what happens if you wait that long to pump your septic tank and what you can do to prevent problems. So once the sludge reaches a certain level in the tank, it starts to move into the lateral field. Once it gets into the lateral field, the sludge will then contribute to the development of something called biofilm. Biofilm is when bacteria builds up on the soil surface. So imagine leaving a water sitting outside, and when you go to get the cup a few days later, there's a slimy film inside of the cup. That's the same thing that happens in the soil. So once the biofilm gets thick enough, the water can no longer absorb into the soil. And so at that point, the water then goes to the next spot that's open in the lateral field that doesn't have excessive amounts of biofilm. And that continues to happen until there's nothing left in lateral that's not filled with biofilm. And then the water moves to the next lateral. At that point, you would consider your first lateral line to have been failed. So then the process occurs again with the next lateral line until that one fails, and then so on and so on. Biofilm will occur in your laterals no matter what you do to your system. But by allowing the sludge from your tank into the lateral field, you're speeding up that process. Once that biofilm has developed, there are some companies that advertise remediation processes. I am skeptical of most of those. The chemical engineer in me knows what makes sense and what doesn't. And there are only two things that I am certain will rejuvenate an existing failed lateral system, and one of those is just time. If a lateral system sets fallow for at least 2 years, there is some research by some colleges that show that it rejuvenates itself, and basically you're starving the bacteria. So once you've starved the bacteria, then it goes back to its original state, the soil does. So some of the other ones that are out there that pump things into the laterals or clean the laterals out, I'm very skeptical of. I won't say that they unequivocally don't work. I just haven't seen the independent research that says they do work. So if you don't want your lateral system to fail, pump your system regularly. Again, biofilm will still form. You can't stop that, but it will slow the biofilm down. And then once you have biofilm in your laterals, there's not a whole lot you can do other than continuing to pump your system regularly to prevent the remaining laterals from failing as quickly.